I don't think you have to be someone who you're not, but you have to be somebody, because I think people are starting to not follow brands in the same way that they used to, but they're starting to follow people and the people associated with those brands. So the more you can be yourself, nobody else can be you.
All right, so what's your name and what do you do in this crazy world of e-commerce?
Yeah, my name is Nick D'Angelo, and I am the Amazon director at Death Wish Coffee. And manage anything Amazon related for a decent sized coffee brand.
So with your experience on Amazon and everything is changing this year, where do you see sellers struggling the most over the next 12 months in running their businesses?
Yeah, so I've kind of been in a coffee silo more or less, and something I'm seeing, at least in coffee, is that brands are taking it a lot more serious. They're realizing, this is one of our bigger channels. We're going to invest into this. We're going to, allocate money. And so as that happens, bids rise. You have to figure out, how are we going to compete in a world where, a Starbucks has decided that they're going to take Prime Day serious. And I noticed you drinking Starbucks now.
I know, I feel bad. He's with Death Wish and I'm drinking Starbucks on the recording.
I forgive you. But yeah, it's like bids are no longer in the range of, like, if you got your Ecom 101 booklets of, you want to look for an ACost of 30%, so then you can be profitable. Like, it's just not a thing. So you have to figure out a more, I want to say, complicated strategy, or a way to, build a brand or a longer term view, because I think that's just going to continue, that, these easy wins are going to continue to disappear as people take it more serious.
Agreed. A lot of people are talking about expansion opportunities, and people kind of segment those between other Amazon marketplaces, maybe internationally, and these other marketplaces, the Temus, the TikTok Shop. Where are you seeing yourself as probably spending the majority of your time in expansion, if at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think, like everybody, I think we could do a better job, but TikTok has been great for us. I feel very strongly about, like, your gut feeling of when you see a brand, like, does it resonate with you? Is it cool? Is there something to it that, like, on a a monkey brain level, that you're just drawn to this thing? And so I think, as brand becomes more and more important, being able to be remembered, being able to have people coming back, people being able to say, oh, I saw that and I remember it, will make your marketing dollars go a lot further. So a good way to do that is to be on TikTok, doing short form content, if that is good for your brands, because then they get to see the personality behind your brands. And I don't think you have to be someone who you're not, but you have to be somebody, because I think people are starting to not follow brands in the same way that they used to, but they're starting to follow people and the people associated with those brands. So the more you can be yourself, nobody else can be you, as a million people have said before me, but Yep. We're finding that to be true.
If you could go back in time to the beginning of your e-commerce journey, what's the one piece of advice you'd give yourself back then that you now know?
Yeah, relax. I think, I was listening to, I got in this space maybe 6 years ago, and like the Helium 10 podcast was like one of the only podcasts. I was listening to that. I was like, wow, these people they're selling so much. They know so much more than me. They're so ahead of me. I don't think I'll ever catch up. And, month by month I caught up, and it's not as complicated as it seems in the beginning. You just show up every day, you give it your all, and, you kind of take for granted, years into the space, all the different things you've learned, and they come in weird times and they come in weird ways, but
Yep.
They sink into your brain until you just start to get this gut feeling of where I ought to be, and then the only way to do that is time. So I would say, relax and, but move forward.
Good advice. Can you give a specific example of how community has helped you within the figuring out e-commerce landscape?
Yeah. For Death Wish specifically, the community has been massive, absolutely rabid. They're on forums, and when we fuck up, they let us know, and that's great. And I think you should be held accountable by your community. And you're asking about, like, your brand's community. You're asking about, like, an Amazon seller community.
It doesn't matter. I like your answer.
Cool. Yeah, I think if you, I think it's easy to start to think like you know better than your customer, which in some cases might be true, but at the end of the day, it's a partnership. If you have, like we said, we've been talking about, like, if you're building a brand, the brand starts to become less about you, even though it's centered around you and something has been resonating about you with people. At the end of the day, the people find themselves in you. And that's really what the brand becomes, is how they relate to your brand, not really, you and that you're so special necessarily.
And even big brands like Sephora, has built out giant community liaison programs and hired chief community officers. Brands interacting and even creating community has been super powerful for a lot of reasons.
For sure.
Imagine you're standing on a stage and you're about to give one piece of advice to every Amazon seller in the world. What would that one piece of advice be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in consumables specifically, I still talk to so many people that don't track LTV. And kind of with everything else we're saying, as it gets more competitive, you're probably not going to be profitable on your first acquisition. And that's fine. And that's good. Because you want to be in a place where there's customers and there's competition, because that means, there's money to be made. But if you're not tracking how many times your customer comes back to buy your product again and again, and you're not looking at ways to improve that, your advertising is going to get, your budget's going to be smaller than the next guy, because you can't justify, the spend that you need to compete in this crazy world. So, somewhat basic answer, but make sure you're tracking LTV if you're a consumable.
What's the worst product idea that Death Wish ever had?
That's funny. I won't throw Death Wish under the bus, but I'll speak for myself.
All right.
I was early on keto, and I was in college, and I got like third place. I went to USC business school, entrepreneur school, whatever. I got third place for like best idea for this keto product. That keto wasn't even really a thing.
Yep.
So early, and I had the science all the way down to like the bottom of like, this is the perfect thing a human should consume, in my opinion at the time. And I was able to pitch it. I had my slides. I had like my percent of market share, all that stuff. Like, and people believe me. So they're like, yeah, that sounds good. You get third. However, nobody liked the taste. And for good reason. It was just awful. And I was trying to convince them, like, it's not about the taste. It's about, it's science, you're putting this in you. And so that was a very strong, very early lesson of, you got to figure out, what's important to your customer, and there's certain things that you can't just negotiate, with your title or whatever.
Amen. What was the most exciting single moment you've ever had in your entrepreneurial journey?
That's a really good question. This was like my first, few months out of college, and I was lucky enough to partner with somebody, and we started an agency together. And one of our first clients was Death Wish. This is how I got my initial introduction to the brands. And I just remember I wrote a title. I was so fresh. I wrote a title, and I looked at the impressions that this page had gotten, and it was like, millions of people over X number of days. And just the fact that I had written someone that was seen by that many people, I got like a sense of awe. And so as basic as that was, I think that was my first like dopamine spike of, it's kind of fun.
That's cool. Most important question of the day: is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, snap. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No, based on gut feeling.
So you can't really defend the answer with logic.
No,
just gut instinct.
No. A sandwich is a vibe, I think, more so than it is.
So it's not it's not the physical developed item. It's the attitude as you're eating it.
Correct. Like if you say, let's get sandwiches, and then I got like, I don't know, something that isn't a sandwich. I got some soup. Like, are you really going to be mad and be like, bro, what the fuck? Like, we were going to get sandwiches.
But if you say hot dog and it's not a hot dog, you're leveling down.
Yeah, exactly.
So hot dog is like the party vibe food.
I think so.
What a great answer. Awesome. If people want to see what you've got going on in this crazy world, where can they follow you? Where can they see the new stuff coming out with Death Wish?
Yeah, you can. We got a TikTok. We got Instagram. We got an email list. Shout out to Kelly, who runs that list. And, those emails are actually fun to read. So, yeah, sign up.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.